Who was Heisman and why does he have a trophy? Before anyone brings home the hardware, let's answer a few questions about John Heisman and his famous award. His name is mostly associated with the trophy now, but Heisman was a player, coach, and hugely successful innovator in the early days of football. After playing for Brown and then Penn as a collegian from 1887 to 1891, Heisman became a coach at a series of schools that included Oberlin, Buchtel, Auburn, Clemson, Penn, Washington and Jefferson, Rice, and most notably, Georgia Tech. Just some little trivial stuff like snapping the ball. Centers originally placed the ball on the ground and rolled it back to their quarterbacks, who would scoop it up and make plays. When Heisman was coaching at Buchtel, which later became the University of Akron though, he had a 6'4" quarterback named Harry Clark. Clark was so tall that picking the ball up off the ground was wildly inefficient, so Heisman invented the center snap as an easy way to get the ball in Clark's hands. Heisman also innovated the use of pulling guards for running plays, and the infamous hidden ball trick, you bet. When Heisman found a way to gain an edge, he jumped on it no matter how ridiculous it seemed. When Heisman was coaching at Clemson in 1902, his team traveled to Atlanta for a game against Georgia Tech. Now, although Heisman was known for being a rather gruff disciplinarian, the Clemson team immediately started partying upon their arrival. When Georgia Tech's players and fans heard that the entire Clemson squad had spent the night before the game carousing, they prepared to coast to an easy win. But when the game started, Clemson just roared out of the gate en route to a 44-5 stomping. So, how did Clemson crush Tech when, by all rights, they should have been ridiculously hungover? Well, the team that everyone had seen partying the night before wasn't really Heisman's Clemson squad at all. He had actually sent his junior varsity players to Atlanta the night before to serve as drunken decoys, then quietly slipped his varsity team in on a morning train right before the game. Heisman worked as an actor in community stock theater during the summer. He consistently received rotten reviews, and, yeah, he allegedly spoke in a brusque, yet bizarrely ostentatious manner. Georgia Tech's website relates a story of one of Heisman's speeches. He would break out on the first day of practice while describing a football. What is this? It is a prolate spheroid, an elongated sphere, in which the outer leather casing is drawn tightly over a somewhat smaller rubber tubing. Better to have died as a small boy than to fumble this football. After leaving his head coaching job at Rice in 1927, Heisman became the athletic director at New York's Downtown Athletic Club. In 1935, the club began awarding the Downtown Athletic Club trophy to the nation's top college football star. Chicago's Jay Berwanger won the first trophy. Heisman died of pneumonia the following fall before the second trophy could be awarded, and the club voted to rename the prize the Heisman Memorial Trophy Award. After leaving his head coaching job at Rice, in 1927, Heisman became the athletic director at New York's Downtown Athletic Club. In 1935, the club began awarding the Downtown Athletic Club trophy to the nation's top college football star. Chicago's Jay Berwanger won the first trophy. Heisman died of pneumonia the following fall before the second trophy could be awarded, and the club voted to rename the prize the Heisman Memorial Trophy Award. The famous Heisman pose is actually based on Ed Smith, a former NYU running back who modeled for the trophy's sculptor in 1934. Interestingly, Smith went years without knowing that he'd modeled for the famous trophy. His sculptor buddy Frank Eliscu had just needed a football player to model for a project, and Smith volunteered. Smith figured Eliscu was just doing some little personal sculpture and remained totally oblivious to his spot in football history for the next 48 years. Until a documentary filmmaker called Smith to interview him about the Heisman in 1982. Smith initially had no idea what the guy was talking about, but he eventually remembered his modeling days. In 1985, the Downtown Athletic Club gave Smith his own copy of the Heisman, and in 1986, he even received recognition on the televised ceremony. He looked at the four finalists. Vinny Testaverde won that year and quipped, "Whoever wins the award, I feel sorry for you because you're going to be looking at my ugly face for a long time." A number of Heisman winners have eventually sold their hardware, and the trophies fetch quite a bit of loot. O.J. Simpson got $230,000 for his, and several others have gone for six-figure prices. The most expensive trophy that's changed hands was Minnesota back. Bruce Smith's 1941 award. It fetched $395,240. SEC fans are going to be floored by this one, but the old ball coach did something really classy when he won the Heisman in 1966. Instead of taking the trophy for himself, Spurrier gave it to the University of Florida so the school could display it and let the student body enjoy it. Florida's student government thought Spurrier's generosity was so classy that they paid for a replica for Spurrier, so he'd get to have his own trophy too. Since then, both the school and the player have received copies of the trophy. Heisman was on the victorious side of possibly the most gratuitously run-up score in sports history. In 1916, tiny Cumberland College canceled its football program and disbanded its squad, but it had previously signed a contract to travel to Atlanta to play Heisman's Georgia Tech team. If Cumberland didn't show up, they had to pay Georgia Tech a $3,000 penalty, which was quite a bit of cash in 1916. Rather than forfeiting the money, Cumberland scraped together a team of 16 scrubs and went to take their walloping from Heisman's boys. For reasons that still aren't totally clear, some say it was to avenge an earlier baseball loss to Cumberland, while others claim Heisman wanted to make a statement about the absurdity of the old system of using total points scored to determine the national champion. The legendary coach showed Cumberland's ragtag band no mercy. Tech went up 63-0 in the first quarter, but Heisman kept attacking until the final score was 222-0. There are tons of hilarious stats from the game, but the funniest is Georgia Tech rushing for 1,620 yards, while Cumberland only squeaked out -96 yards on 27 carries.